morning everyone. Today we're at Bendigo, doing a bit of a tour around Bendigo. Going to have a look at these gold mine behind us, and after that we're going to go and jump on the tram and do a tour around Bendigo. So the tram stops right next door, so looking forward to it actually. So alright, we'll see when we get in there. Battery trams were first introduced in the Bendigo in June 1890. This is a model of a battery stamp. Steam powered. They bring the gold up to the mine and they bring it round the back of the stamp and they pile it up in there and they'd shovel it in, and then with the steam powered trains it would keep the stamps going up and down and crush and crush and crush the ore. Then they'd wash the ore out on this side through the sluice boxes with water and then squirm the gold out at the end of the day. And they used to drag these set up all around the bush. Amazing.
That's not a bad thing, they should be more rested.
This is all the above ground mine. We're going to do the tour tomorrow underground. The locker room.
What was working life like at this mine in the 50s? Norm Clark, a gun miner who used to work at the central bedroom, remembers the routine of these change rooms.
So I change your clothes, become the word they hear. And you hang your foot bangs on your book too. And so in this room here, where all our wet clothes from the previous day's work will be hanging over these steam pipes out here. And they'll be dry, really stiff and dry. And that's what we begin to have here.
This is the change rooms. So the guys would come in and get changed. There'd be gentlemen in the next room who would go through their uniforms. They get washed and hung up over the steam pipes. And this guy would make sure there was nothing in there, no gold taken out in the clothes. The mining first aid room. Got the rescue stretchers.
It's our traveler.
Just to refill all their lights and their lanterns in this storage area. Bring the gold in. Giant battery stamp. Just to crush all the gold as they go piling down. All the ore was then pushed into these. There were 2 of these side by side. There would have been another one here. And all the gold was washed down. Put on the riffle table. All the ripples. They'd wash the gold would settle in the ripples, and the rest of it would wash off. Crush all the quartz. It's like centrifuge bowls.
Back in the 1850s, the easiest way to find gold was to penny in the Vanninabout. Here's a stick.
There's a ball in there. We'd roll that around and crush the ore.
Take a gold pan, roll up your sleeves, and pick a trough of the pan. Hold the pan with the ridges facing away from you. Scoop up some sand from the bottom of the trough, about 3/4 of a pan full. Gold is heavy, so dig as deep as you can. Swish the pan around in the water to wash the top layer of sand and stones off. This works all the gold to the bottom of the pan. Tilt the pan slightly away from you and swirl the pan around in the water so that the waste rock and sand is washed out of the gold pan bit by bit.
Gold. We can't get enough of it.
That's the other hand of faith.
Dirty bloody job, mate, but I suppose someone's got to do it. Mind you, we can make a good quid out of it.
Hey.
You know, we mine a hell of a lot of rock out of this hole. A little bit of glittering stuff we find makes all the difference.
Gold. The golden era. Bendigo. A city built on gold and the rush to discover exchange treasure. Gold. Ah, you beauties. Gold. Gold. A metal that's special for it. Gold. An element that has embodied wealth, security, and success. To civilization. Gold. We can't get enough of it.
You know, we mine a hell of a lot of rock out of this hole. Glittering stuff we find is all they want.
Well, you know, okay, so I'll move the holes and then if I
Gold.
can
The golden era. Bendigo. A city built on gold and the rush to discover its hidden treasure. Gold! Ah, you beauty! Gold! Gold. A metal gold. An element of wealth, security, and success. Civilization. Gold. We can't get enough of it.
A dirty bloody job, mate. I suppose someone's got to do it. Mind you, we can make a good quid
Yeah, he's right. He's done just about everything there is to do on a mine. Started when he was about 18. Not only that, but he's invented a whole lot of things too, like a fuse igniter and a moisture trap.
So that's the mine shaft. Straight down. Bring the ore across there. Dump it in the bins. Pile it out of the bins, in the carts. Down to the stamp, down the back. All aboard.
All aboard! Caravan.
You jump on them buttons, the bells. Other one.
This one?
Jump on it. Hard, press it hard. Yes. Huh.
What's in there?
It's the engine room. Get this way, Carla.
Wow!
So this is the engine room, is to pull up and down the shaft. All the guys will give them a cage. Up and down the mine shaft, there we go.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Something pretty.
Pull those ropes and come all the way across there, the shaft. On-site blacksmith.
My name is Charles White. They call me Charlie. I came as an experienced blacksmith for the Central Deborah. First started here in August 1945.
Watch up, watch up. Turn around, turn around.
I've just got
sideways.
access
Turn sideways.
to the panel there. Go.
It's okay,
We
bro.
should be okay. We've got a bigger group today, we're all right. Ladies and gents, this is our alley Mac lift. It's going to take us 90 seconds to get down there to level 2. If we were to go down to the old school mine cage we saw at the surface, only takes 20 seconds, all right? So this is nice and slow and relaxing, this thing, all right? Now, I don't think I've got too many mini miners I need to worry about, but if you are nervous, there's a couple of teddy bears that hang out in the wall about halfway down over that side. So if you're a nervous traveller, keep an eye out for those teddy bears, all right? Alright, we're all friends now. Where's your arm going now? Righto, ready to go? Yes. Righto, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to let you do it.
Job, innit?
Sometimes I go on too. Never know. I try and read the room and do better than that. So the rise we're going down in right now was first put in the mid-80s purely so we could take tourist groups to level 2, which is why I don't have anything else more interesting to tell you about it. Right, 90 seconds is an awkward amount of time. It's like when you put something in the microwave for a minute and a half, you don't know whether to stand there and watch it or go away and do something else. I've got nowhere else to take you though, so we're just going to ride this line out. There we go. What I want to get you to do, you see the mine truck down there in the middle of the track, move down there. And stop at the mine truck for me. Thank you very much. You ask me questions that's too hard, I'll just go back and ask Bill.
Right, Kayla.
Mum's over there. Don't know what we're
Bill's the G, I'd say. If you ask me questions, I'll take it at 45 minutes. Righto, squeeze on through down to the front here. Okie dokie, what we're going to do to start off with is we're going to have a look at the mine shaft. So what I'm going to get you all to do, nice big semicircle round here in front of me. Okay, post to post. Okay, stay in front of the post, otherwise you'll end up with water dripping all over you. If you're a mini miner who's here with mum or dad, or whether you're here with, make sure you stand in front so you can see. If you're a tall person and is here with a short person, pull rank, stand in front of them. Alright, shorter people on the ground, highest ranking officers. Feel free to move all the way up here, brother man, that'll do me.
Yeah, you can stand there.
Well done, move on up a bit. Make sure you can see me, okay? Got my teacher voice on, obviously. Try not to yell at you. I feel like I'm yelling at you. Sorry about that.
Teacher voice.
Always have it. Teacher voice.
Can't help it.
Alrighto. We're now 61 metres underground. Might be 200 feet. Maybe about the same height as a 22-storey building. That's how far underground we are right now. And behind me here is that mine shaft we talked about very briefly at the surface. Now the mine shaft here at Central Deborah is 422 metres deep. It's got 17 levels in it. That sounds like a long way when you say it out loud. It is not by Bendigo standards, it's shallow. Okay, the deepest mine in Bendigo was the Victoria Quartz Mine on Victoria Hill, which is over in that direction of town, at the front of the Gold Mines Hotel. 1,406 metres deep that mine was. It had 37 levels in it. It was considered the deepest mine in the world at one point. So what we're standing in right now is a baby mine, but don't worry, I've got plenty of gold left on the walls I'm going to show you later on, I promise. You're going to see the good stuff. To put it more in perspective for you, the average mine depth in Bendigo is 800 metres. Right, so this mine's only a touch over half of that average mine depth. We are shallow. Right. Now your mine shaft is broken up into 4 different compartments. You can see them across there. Middle 2 compartments are your winding and haulage compartments. All right, those are the compartments where mine cages moved up and down carrying men and equipment like the mine truck just over there. All right, mine trucks hold 500 kilo worth of rock and material, well modelled. Okay. Compartment over this side, looks like it's all boarded up. We call that the smoke box. Acts like a natural chimney down here and naturally sucks air out from underground. That's a good thing. We want that to happen. It helps with air circulation. But more importantly, at the end of each shift, miners used to blast the rock apart with explosives. Create a lot of dust, a lot of fumes. Smoke box helped to draw the dust and fumes out, so it was safer for those next miners when they came underground to work. And the lucky last compartment is the one over this side, the ladder way. The ladder way is how miners climbed out from underground when the mine cages weren't working, and that happened. Right, the mine cages were completely controlled by that winding engine up there at the surface, like I mentioned earlier. Right, that winding engine was built in 1896, and this is the 5th different mine that it's worked on. Every now and again it gave itself a bit of a breather, a bit of a rest. Right, so that's when miners would have to use ladders. So from here on level 2, 61 metres underground, might take us 15 minutes to climb back up the top. That's not too bad. 17 levels in this mine though. Okay, so from level 10 and below, a miner was looking at a climb of 2.5 hours. That was after he finished his 8-hour mine shift. He didn't get paid to climb those ladders either. He climbed out for free. And he had to carry out any equipment he took down with him at the start of his shift, like his lunch bag. He had to carry that out with him as well. Not my idea of a fun time. Right, now I have climbed those ladders before. Right, climbed down to level 10, climbed back out again. Didn't take me 2.5 hours, but I hadn't worked an 8-hour mine shift. I wasn't carrying anything in that hose. Definitely paid me. Right, I'm not climbing the ladders for free. That way helps with air circulation as well. It naturally draws air into the mine. That's how you control your airflow down here. It was all controlled naturally by these 4 compartments you're looking at. Right, now your shaft there is all lined with timber. That's red gum from up near the Murray River. We use red gum because red gum loves a nice, damp, wet environment. And as you can see, nice, damp, wet environment. Right, water's lazy. Water wants to get to the lowest point that it can get to, and the lowest point in the mine is the mine shaft. So the shaft was always the wettest part of the mine. That's why they use red gum in there to keep it nice and strong. Right. Last thing about the shaft here, communication. Miners down here had to communicate with miners up there. All right, no telephones down here in the old days, of course. No buttons like on the Mac lift we just came down in. All right, so what they used to use instead was a big long cord that ran down the inside of the mine shaft called a knocker line. Went all the way up to the surface and went across the compound and was attached to some bells in the engine room. All right, so what they had was a code of signals, sort of like miners' Morse code. Okay, so the miner's down here, pulling the knocker line, ring the bell, and depending on the code he's pulled, the winder driver then knew exactly where that miner was, what he wanted to do, where he wanted to go. That's how they communicate. These days, got red electric buttons on every level, that's a bit easier. All right, there are telephones on each level as you go underground as well, but the further underground you go, it gets hotter, it gets wetter, it gets more humid. All right, the phones break. Okay, that's where these red electric buttons are important, because if they don't work, that's when we're climbing ladders and no one wants to do that. I've never seen someone come out of the ladderway dry. Alright, you can hear all that water running down there right now. It's not much of a fun place to be, I promise you. The first run of ladders is okay. Everything after that's not much fun, I promise you, mate. I promise. I wouldn't lie. Alright, before we do move on from this area, okay, it does have a name. It's called the Plat. Every level's got a plat. It's just a big area off the front of the mine shaft, big enough for us to skid mine trucks around like that one or store equipment against the wall. It is a Cornish term. Means platform. There's a lot of Cornish terms in Australian mining because the Cornish have a big influence on Australia's underground mining history. Right, the Cornish came from Cornwall, southwest part of England. Over there they were mining tin and copper. Hard rock mining though. So when the gold rush hit in Australia in the 1850s, the miners started heading underground into Australia's hard rock, looking for all the good stuff, all the gold. Cornish came along and brought expertise, they brought knowledge, they brought terminology. So by the end of this tour, you'll notice quite a few different Cornish techniques and nicknames. Shows you the sort of impact that the Cornish had on Australia's mining history. Any questions before we move on? down this way we'll go then. We're going to talk about the rock. Who would have thought? We're going to talk about the rock mine. Crazy. Reinvent the wheel here. Okay. The reason Bendigo is such a successful gold-bearing area is because of the rock structures we have underground here. Alright, the type of rock structures we have here are called saddle reefs, and it's the type of saddle reefs we have in Bendigo that make us unique. Nova Scotia in Canada, just make sure that helmet goes back on your head.
Yeah, I was just trying to adjust that, sorry.
That's alright, that's alright.
It's falling down.
Keeps falling down. Okay, turn around and look. That's alright, mate. It's alright, that happens. So long as it's you're not falling off by itself, we're okay. Sometimes they can feel a bit loose, but if you're worried about it and you're looking up high, just put your hand on your head, it's all right. I'm not that stressed. Accidents happen. Okay, the reason Bendigo is such a good gold field is because of these rock structures. We've got saddle reefs. Okay, now what happened was 480 million years ago, this was the bottom of the ocean. Right, layers of sand and silt built up on top of each other, and over time they hardened into rock, sandstone and slate. Basically all this rock in this little section here is either sandstone or slate. Fast forward 450 million years ago, there was compression in the Earth's surface from the east and from the west. Slowly over time started squashing those flat layers of rock together. So instead of having flat layers of rock, the rock under Bendigo was forced into big waves like this. Sort of like a sheet of corrugated iron is a good way of looking at it. Also explains why Bendigo's goldfield is 15 kilometres north-south, but only 4 or 5 kilometres east-west, all being squashed together. Now the parts of those folds that move up on angles like that you call anticlines. The parts that slope down and away you call synclines. Most of your gold found in your folds at the top of your anticlines. Right, that's because in that folding process, big gaps opened up. That allowed space for something called silica from deep in the Earth's surface to be forced up under pressure. Silica was a liquid substance. It contained gold and other minerals, filled those gaps up. When silica hardened into a white rock we call quartz. That's what miners are looking for. They're looking for quartz reefs because underground gold's only found in quartz reefs. So to find your gold, you have to find your quartz reef first. So what do? Sink a mine shaft. First tunnel they dig is what we're standing on now. It's called a crosscut because it goes across those layers of rock. Then you get to a point where you change direction, dig a tunnel in a north-south direction. We call that a drive. I like to think we're driving into the rock, driving after the goal. So we don't call them tunnels, we call them crosscuts and drives. But basically, the reason that saddle reefs here in Bendigo are so successful is because they're predictable. Because they were one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. Like big sheets of corrugated iron stacked on top of each other. Usually the quartz reefs were spaced out 30 to 40 metres apart. So when a miner went underground and found a quartz reef in Bendigo, he knew if he went down again, there'd be another one there. And below that one would be another one. And another one, and another one. That's how you can sink a mine shaft that's 1,406 metres deep. You just keep going down. Predictable mining is easier mining, you know where to go. Half the battle in mining is knowing where to dig, and the saddle reefs show you exactly where you want to be. Right, so we like the saddle reefs here, they're good. Any questions about the rock before we move on? I've done this tour with 3 geologists on it before. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than talking about rocks to geologists, I promise you. Alright, follow me on down this way. Pop in here, take a seat for me. You want to see a lot of nodding heads. Pop in here, take a seat. If we're starting to run out of seats in here, feel free to stay out in the crosscut. I've got my teacher voice on clearly, like I've already said. Yeah, so they reckon the theory is that water from the surface to get down here to level 2 takes about 6 months. Alright, obviously all that water, all that rain that we had, you know, there was a lot more water than normal, but there was no visual difference in the amount of water coming through the rocks. If you guys want to move up to this side as well, you don't have to stand single file. School holidays, we're okay.
Down to Bendigo, bye.
We come down once a week and stuff like
I like this area of the cave, it's not mine.
Sledgehammer, you reckon? I don't know many tour guides that'll let someone come down with a sledgehammer, if I'm honest with you. Righto, crew down the back, can you hear me okay? Yep. Righto, what's going to happen is that the guys at the front will have a look at all the gold, they'll move down, you guys will get your chance to drill all over the yellow stuff as well. I promise you, everyone is going to get a chance to look at that gold. There is gold in all 3 of these windows. It is labelled in the front 2 windows, it is not labelled in the back window. It's like advanced level, where's Wally in that back window down. You'll be experts at finding it by the time I finish going off. Okay? Now, what we've got here is a small quartz reef. Right, you can tell we're in the middle of that anticlinal fold I was telling you about because there's a dome shape to it up the front here. You'll notice it when you wander on past. This is a small reef. Further underground you go, the bigger quartz reefs do become, but this one's still got plenty of gold in there. Now, not every quartz reef was mined. Had to be profitable to mine. Okay, so that means for every tonne of quartz they pulled out from underground, they had to find at least 10 grams worth of gold in it. That's what was considered profitable. 1 tonne of quartz is 2 mine trucks filled with the white rock. 10 grams worth of gold's about the size of the top of my little finger. That's it. That's all they needed to find for it to be considered profitable. So 15 years worth of mining at Central Deborah, they removed 64,000 tonnes worth of quartz. They removed 40,000 tonnes worth of mullock, the waste rock, that grey sandstone and slate, for a grand total of 929 kilos worth of gold. A little bit under a tonne. We weren't considered a very profitable mine, even though that amount of gold today is worth over $75 million. I think we averaged about 14 grams to the tonne over our lifetime. Not very profitable at all. Now, I can hear you thinking, Baz, if this wasn't a profitable mine, why is there gold still here in the wall, mate? And the answer is the old-timers did not find this quartz reef. Closest they got, 10 metres on the other side of the wall up here. Maybe a week's worth of mining away. It was World War II, short-staffed, ankle-deep water, no sign of the quartz reef. They gave up. They moved down to level 6, never came back to level 2. You can also hear you thinking, but Bass, if you guys came along afterwards and found the quartz reef, how come you didn't take the gold out? And the answer is there is more money in tourism. There is a small amount of gold I got in the wall. If I take the gold out, I've got nothing to show you. Right, so I left it in there for you crew to look at. Right, now you notice your gold's got a nice, rich, yellow-looking colour to it, but it is small. Right? That's natural. That's what it looks like underground, trapped in the hard rock. A lot of people have this idea of gold in their heads, like big gold nuggets, like the welcome stranger, big beautiful things like that. Like that's alluvial gold, it's surface gold. And even though alluvial nuggets were big like that from time to time, there's just not that many of them. Right? Far more gold trapped underground in hard rock like this. 80% of all Bendigo's gold came out of hard rock, exactly like you're looking at here. From underground, heaps of minerals in it, which means you've got a higher chance of finding a good amount of gold in there. Plain white quartz reefs got left behind. There's quartz reefs on some of the lower levels that are taller than me, but they're still there because there's no colours in them at all. No point mining. But you can have a look at our drills. Alright, so follow me around this way. You line is there in front of Mum or Dad, so we'll work it here with, so that if you fit everybody in a bit better. Okay. I like the gold, this is my favourite stock. It's for the moves got. Alright, I like that one.
Baz, obviously in the outback, iron and cork, where the gold is about iron and cork.
Yep.
You get iron in Victoria, like iron. Like
There is iron underground, but not the same sort of way, like up in the Terrace and Teddy Creek, where you get your gold. A hole in the rock big enough to fit your explosive in. It sort of looks a little bit like this. Now, I've been doing these tours for a while, and that hole hasn't got any deeper. Alright, so...
they're all yours, Baz.
So one man can do that job. Far easier to do it in a team though. So what they used to do is have one man holding the drill steel, one or two of his mates with hammers swinging away. Okay, that bloke holding the drill steel doing the quarter turns. Also hope his mates don't miss a break his fingers. Right? A lot of trust involved. Drilling a hole in a team like that, 1 metre hole, would take you 4 hours. You need at least 12 holes for an effective blast pattern. It's a slow way of going about it, and that's what we used to do down here back before they had enough space to get compressed air lines down so they could run pneumatic drills like these ones behind me. So the big green guy over here in the corner is what we call a stroker or a reciprocator. Right? Came along in the 1880s. Right, this particular one was built in Bendigo around that same time, so it's over 140 years old, it weighs 150 kilo and can drill a 1 metre hole in 40 minutes. That's heaps quicker. Right, but there's a massive problem with it. Kicks up a heap of dust. Right, that dust would fill the air and miners would breathe it in. What they're breathing in contains silica. It's a natural form of glass. It's settled on their lungs and they develop something called silicosis or miner's complaint. The life expectancy of a miner using a drill like that one was 40 years of age. That's why they nicknamed them widowmakers. Alright, silicosis was the biggest killer across the gold fields by a long, long, long way. More than any other cause of death, particularly here in Bendigo. I've got to give them credit though, it only took them 20 years to figure out that all you had to do to get rid of that dust problem was have a man standing there with a hose of water pointed at the hole. Only took 20 years to figure that out. Right? This drill here though, this is my favourite. This is the drifter drill. This is the drill we used at Central Deborah for the entire 15 years the mine operated. Alright, came along in the early 1900s, but what you need to know about it is that the drill steel's hollow. Okay, so that means that as the miner was drilling, he could pump it full of water and get rid of all the dust. Turn it into a mud called slurry. So they've eliminated that dust problem. Alright, all that water running through there also means your drill tip stays cool, so it stays sharper for longer. It's more efficient, more effective. Alright, this drill could drill a 1.5 metre hole in 15 minutes. I'm going to turn it on for you. Alright, but it's going to be loud, so what I need you to do, block your ears for me as best you can.
Thanks for the earplugs, mate.
You got earplugs down? You're well prepared if you do. Righto, blocking your ears as best you can. Ready, set. love that thing. That was about 5 seconds. Imagine doing that for 20 holes, 15 minutes each, every shift, no hearing protection. Right, that's what miners were doing down here. A lot of hearing loss, a lot of hearing damage. Your other problem, hands sitting on there, rattling, rolling around half your shift, you've got nerve damage in your hand as well, something called white knuckle. So even though they eliminated the death element of using drills, there are other health concerns associated with them still, unfortunately. Lucky last drill, very, very quickly, is this one down the front here. Right, it's an air leg drill, it's a more modern drill. Came along in the 1950s, only weighs 50 kilos, so it can be moved around and operated by one man at a time. Still runs on compressed air. Yeah. Still got your whole drill still. Right, an air leg drill could drill a 2 metre hole in 5 to 10 minutes. Far more effective and efficient. Right, but unfortunately, far too expensive. Alright, there's a handful of reasons this mine was forced to close. One of those reasons was using the old, outdated drifter drills. We hadn't been able to purchase air leg drills in the 1950s when they came along. Happy days. Operate for longer, no problems. Just couldn't afford them. Still used in modern mining too, by the way. Smaller projects, but they are still used, so they're still an effective drill we use. I just couldn't have them here. Any questions about drills? Awesome.
Is that gold in that corner there or fool's gold?
Where's that?
In front of that corner there, what's over that corner in there?
Water.
Oh, is it just water?
There's just water coming down the wall.
Okay.
Sprung the leg over in the corner. Nah, there's no gold over there. I'd be all over it. Yes, mate.
So if you use the drill to hose it back into it, how deep of a hole would you make?
You could probably do maybe 4 holes if you were working well with the drifter drill. You could probably do more than that with the air leg. Alright, but it's still very, very loud. Good jump.
How was down, bro? Watch out for bats. Or vampires.
Stand in front of each other if we need to. Smaller people stand in front of the taller people you're with. Squash on down. We have to look at this corner behind me here, so I want to make sure these guys are in the back. They get a good view as well. 2 shots to go. Nice and damp on the floor. That shows you that we get to a low point in the mine. Water's trying to drain its way back down. If you guys want to move up to the corner so here you can. Get a look in this corner here, so move up here. Right. Drill our holes in the rock. Don't just drill holes wherever we feel like them. We've got to drill them into patterns. Patterns are the most effective way to blast this rock apart. Okay, so what we used here is this pattern in the corner. It's called the Bendigo drag cut. It was developed for use in Bendigo wherever drifter drills we use, like the one I just demonstrated for you. It's based off a Cornish pattern, of course it is. All right, now you start off with holes at the top, they're called back holes, and every half metre down, drill another series of holes until you reach the yellow ones here that are angled down towards the floor. They're called cut holes. They're supposed to be miners waist height, the Cornish were little fellas, all right? And the last ones you drill out are the ones down there in the floor, the lifters. Clean them out, pack them full of explosive. Our explosive of choice was this stuff up the top, gelignite. All right, we used gelignite because it was safer. All right, gelignite would not blast apart unless there was a detonator attached to it, unlike a lot of those earlier explosives, which had a knacker just blowing up for no real good reason. So we like gelignite. It's good stuff. You can see here we got blast cord as well. Blast cords cut to different lengths because you need the explosions over here to go off one at a time in a very specific order. Okay, you need these cut holes here to blast down first. Bang! Creates a weakness in the rock, gives us an area for those explosions above it to blast into. Bang, bang, bang. One at a time they blast up to the back holes. Last ones to go, lifters in the floor. Alright, lifters will drop all that rock and material out into the cross-cutter drive so it's easy for that next crew to clean it up. All 16 to 20 tonnes of it. Alright, so to set it off, miner grabs his Bendigo bucket lamp like we looked at earlier, lights up all those fuses, then he gets all the way back round to the flat. You never run into mine. Walk all the way back round to the flat where we started the tour today, and that's where he stops, Weights, counts. Counts all 20 of those explosions before he goes back to the surface. If you count 20, beautiful, job's done. Jump in the mine cage, up you go, day's over. If you only count 19 or 18, that's when there's been a misfire, something's gone wrong. So what the miner does then, goes back to the surface anyway, tells the next crew it's the next crew's problem. It's not because you've been lazy, it's because if you come back too soon after a misfire and it blows up the lane, that's when people got hurt. Plenty of time between each shift for everything to settle down and the next crew knew how to handle that problem. Alright, safety first. We only had one death in this mine, had nothing to do with an explosive accident. The last pattern I'll show you is this one in the middle. It's a burn cut. It's a more modern pattern. You can use an air lead drill with this pattern. Alright, you don't use explosives anymore to create the weakness in the rock. You just use a bigger drill bit and you drill the weakness into the face like you can see there in the middle. Around that weakness, that's where you drill your smaller holes. Diamond and square shaped patterns out, 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 out till you reach the width and the height of the drive. It's the smaller holes you fill with explosives. Don't use gelignite anymore, of course. There's more modern explosives available to use, and to set it off, you use electric detonators, and you certainly don't move 50 metres around the corner and hope for the best like they did in the old days. Safety standards have changed just a touch, just about the whole mine needs to be evacuated, right? So, safety matters. What I am going to do though, keep your eye on this burn cut here. I've got it all wired up, ready to go. I'm going to show you what we're talking about in terms of a pattern or a sequence. Alright, ready? Fire another one. Mum used her son as a human shield when I set that off not that long ago. I don't know what she thought was going to happen, but the trust in me wasn't all that strong. Right? Starts off nice and small around the weakness, moves further and further out. It's expanding the weakness. It's the basic principle all blast patterns work on. They're expanding the weakness the miners created in the rock. They'll blast back as far back as the holes are drilled. So that one there's about 1.5 metres. Burn cut behind me is about 2 metres. Right? Wasn't the sound they were listening for either. Feeling for vibration. Okay, you can feel the vibration at the surface, alright? So much so that the publican over the road at the National Hotel, he could feel them, so he knew he had 30 minutes, had 30 beers lined up on the bar for all the time. Very warning system. Always a pub within 200 metres of a poppy eating when you go back in the old days. It's a safe business plan. Safe business plan. Any questions about blasting?
Can you do it again?
Can I do it again?
I think that's
We're all ready?
We're ready.
Alright,
Fire no!
Set it off for a school group once before, and I got up at the top and one of the kids goes to me, that blast display was really disappointing. And I'm like, I'm sorry mate, what disappointed you? It wasn't real explosives. Mate, that's illegal. Lunch portion. Yeah. If you guys want to move around the corner here, you can. You can stand over in this spot. That you'll get to stand all the way down there. Righto, lucky last stop in Australian mining when you get rid of rock from underground, it's called bogging. Okay, and here at Central Deborah we use a very specific piece of equipment to get the job done. We use shovels. Right, 15 years worth of mine, and that's all they use down here to get rid of that rock and material from underground. Right, the nickname for these things is the banjo, based on the shape and the sound they make going across those rocks there. Right, now miners always worked in pairs using banjos. They could fill a mine truck like that one in the corner with 500 kilos worth of rock in 10 minutes. Then they had to push it all the way back round to the plat. Plat could be up to 500 metres away. Grab an empty mine truck when they got there, push it back again and keep doing that till they got rid of 16 20 tonnes worth of material. That's before they've drilled their holes in the rock, before they've blasted the rock apart, and on top of any other job they had to do down here like sets or sounding. That was your 8-hour shift every time you're down here. Clear rock, drill holes, blow rock to bits so the next crew could do the exact same thing. So you could push your cross cutter, your drive back 1.5 metres a shift. That's how Bendigo got its gold out from underground. A lot of hard work, a lot of effort. Had to be fit and strong. Yellow thing here made life a touch easier when it came along. It's called a rocker shovel or a rail bogger. Now these things came along in the late 1930s. They run on compressed air like the drills do. You can see that here. You'd only need one man to run this machine. Would have had a platform hanging off the side there that the operator stood on. Got your controls on the side.
We just finished the tour and it was absolutely amazing. 10 out of 10. So it was really good, but it was a bit wet though.
G'day and welcome aboard. I'm one of Bendigo's vintage talking trams. I'm part of a fleet of over 45 heritage trams, which include the largest collection of original Melbourne trams in Australia. More than half of Bendigo's trams are over 100 years old. Visitors to Bendigo are often curious about how the city got its name. We've all heard the saying that Australia once rode on the sheep's back. Well, it was much the same in 1848 when the Ravenswood sheep run covered most of the land we're driven. The Overs era, the southern area of the run for short lives. Tom was a bit of a dab-hand with his business and a great admirer of the renowned British banner and boxer, William the Bendigo Thompson, whose nickname Bendigo. Tom named the Bendigo correctly in honour of this hero, and the name Find the Great Hustler's Reef, one of the richest reefs ever discovered in Australia. Notice the life-size statue of Sir George Lancel holding a lump of quartz in his hand. George Lancel was known as Australia's quartz king, and although he came from humble beginnings, his passion for quartz mining made him Bendigo's richest and most respected citizen during the gold rush years. The former Sandhurst
The Central Deborah Gold Mine. Fantastic tour, excellent. It's linked to the tram stop. You can do your tours on the trams, 40-minute return trip. Buy a ticket all day, get on and off the tours all day. Excellent for kids. Really, really, really interesting. Well worth it.